From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, 5th next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
Jonathan, great to see you again, sir.
Joel, great seeing you as well. Thank you for having me on.
You got it. And we want to welcome in Jessica Kruger. She is the Director of Development for EHCA. EHCA. How you doing, Jessica?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. All right, we wanted to have this conversation because this is a hugely important organization. Part of the alphabet soup that we have around here, right?
Of course.
And so not everybody knows, the background of the stories and the history of these organizations. And yeah, I'm particularly enamored with your organization because I have a dear friend and also clients that I've worked with over the years. I mean, in the last 35 years or so, where, folks that were part of the organization would come and help as volunteers for my nonprofit, right? And so, and then, folks that were supporters or teachers or so on, So let's start, though, from the very beginning. It's a very good place to start.
For sure.
So tell us about the origin story of EHCA.
So thank you for sharing that story, Joel. I appreciate that. And it's, we are proud to be a pillar of the vibrant Erie County nonprofit landscape. Although we cover Erie, Crawford, and Venango County with our services, we did start in Erie County, Erie City proper. And actually, we started at what now is called the brewery. In 1912, it was socially acceptable if you had a child that you did not want to wrap them up and leave them at the train station.
Oh, my goodness.
So a very interesting story. This was such a common problem back then in 1912.
They just...
The first year, and I need to send thanks to all the people that came before Jessica and I because the place has saved so much history. So that's how we know this stuff.
Okay.
So I have in my possession, in my office, the original board minutes from 1912 to 1923, which, we put on the white gloves to handle because the spine is like falling apart.
Yes.
We have the original board bylaws incorporated into those. But 13 visionary women of society said that this is not right, that you should not be able to leave children that you do not want at the train station in downtown Erie.
Was there something particular where the children generally had something, I guess, wrong or some kind of issue with them?
So yes, or other circumstances that back then society,
even poverty.
Yeah, yep, everything you could imagine back then that society would frown upon. So what was interesting was that the Salvation Army, according to the notes, the Salvation Army in Erie was doing similar work. However, our founding mothers, specifically 13 of them, thought that they could do a better job.
Okay.
So in the historical documents that we have, a very interesting letter from the Hammett Board of Directors in 1913 dated, "It has come to our attention that you are planning on starting an infant's home." And the Hammett Board of Directors said, "We are putting on a addition to our facility, and we think we can do this better than you can. So please, essentially, don't do it." You know, they wrote very nicely back then. They were much more proper than that.
Well, I'm thinking of Hamilton. Yeah, you're kind and
Yeah. So, you know, even though we didn't know the founding mothers, obviously, this was their spirit. So, in between the years of 1912 and 1913, just in Erie, the problem was so bad that the founding mothers took in 60 infants from the Union train station into their care and opened what was called Erie Infants Home.
Okay, that's what it was just called, Erie Infants Home.
EIH.
Wow.
So for any, I guess, Erieites listening, that's probably what we still get checks to Erie Infants Home.
Do you really?
Yeah,
wow.
Because that name resonates with so many people. And then, of course, we changed the name in early 1990 to Erie Homes for Children and Adults.
Right.
Specifically, the charter changed in the 50s whenever we really noticed that we were caring for intellectual disabilities.
Okay.
More so than just abandoned folks. But going back to the history piece, several people now, because of DNA tracing and all that, trace their roots back to us. We still are able to provide them with their birth certificates.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is on Laserfish now.
Right.
But all those documents still exist. And we've been in our facility on the east side since 1928. So the building's been retrofit to death, but we're very appreciative to have that.
Was that built
history.
by scratch back in the day? Or?
You got me on that one.
Yeah. I just wonder if it was an adapted use.
The terracotta roof is usually how people, identify it now. So not only are we very proud to be a part of Erie's history, but to be a East Side Erie nonprofit means a lot to us.
There's no doubt about it. It occurs to me, was there not like an orphanage? Like wasn't St. Joe's in existence as well? I mean, there must have been a lot of demand.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure those places existed. And it's shocking to me that in 1 year, 60 babies.
Exactly.
And that was essentially people back then would see this happening. And it was just like, that's the way it is. Incredible.
When do you think that it got that the state got involved in this kind of work? Like, again, you work a lot with DHS, correct?
Yes.
So
ODP.
ODP.
Office of Developmental Programs.
I wonder when that all came around, or did they have to get nudged a little bit?
So what we were doing was taking people away from what was called warehousing, which is a terrible term.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Probably the closest state center to here is Polk State Center, which is in Venango County, I believe. And at one point, 3,000 people lived there. And it was the idea of, okay, so if you have a child with challenges, maybe you don't give them up, but we're going to go out of sight, out of mind with these folks. And that's why most of these places were very rural.
Yeah.
To this day, Polk still exists. There's only less than 100 people there. However, there are brand new community homes being built around it to shutter it. And Governor Wolf and Josh Shapiro now is trying to do away with all the state centers. So
is that right?
I want to tell you there's probably 3 left in all of the Commonwealth.
Okay. Amazing. It's amazing when you think about, again, talking about demand and also talking about, where this industry has kind of gone, as far as, being able to go from these large institutions to group homes and things. And you've kind of seen kind of a movement from the main location to lots of group homes. In fact, when you were in development, that was kind of your ballywick, right? So let's get started on your story, Jonathan. What did you do before you came to EHCA?
So I had a lot of different jobs, like many of us do,
Sure.
But I would say my first suit and tie job out of Edinburgh University, out of college, was Verizon Wireless in Meadville.
Okay.
Small business and retail sales.
Sure.
And that's kind of where I learned my customer service because, Erie had like 2 cell phone towers and Meadville had 1. So here you are selling.
You're talking way back when.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 49. So,
Yeah.
But this was the Motorola StarTAC days, way before smartphones, and the flip phone was kind of the raddest thing out there. And I did that, and I enjoyed.
By the way, we want our razors back. I miss the razor.
Oh yeah, those were.
Wasn't that amazing phone? Anyway, but
I think the Time Port was the first color screen because it was a silver clamshell, and then it had like a blue battery indicator and a green strength indicator on it.
Oh my gosh.
But anyways, I think I do a lot of talks, and thank you for your work with the nonprofit partnership.
Sure.
And I think all of us at some point in our careers, somebody took a chance on you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll forever be, beholden to my first manager, Tom, who was an Edinburgh grad as well, and just saw that on the resume and said, okay, I'll take a chance on an alum. So Tom gave me the shot, and I appreciate that. And I was there about 7 years. We did get salary, but I also worked on commission.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed whenever you were fighting for that commission, if you hit the goal that month, they raised it the next. And I quickly figured out I'm going to get burned out pretty quick.
Right.
So I wanted to get kind of into nonprofit because I just wanted to have a mission.
And your degree was in what?
Speech communications.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotta love that.
Yep. And
Gary Christensen back in the day?
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Every Edinburgh comm grad loves Dr. Christensen.
Yeah,
so.
and I did the stint on the campus
on
radio.
FSC.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Exactly.
But then I left Verizon, and I was privileged enough to work for the Highmark Caring Place.
Okay.
Which obviously is the nonprofit arm of Blue Cross Blue Shield. So it was nice not to go straight nonprofit and have the for-profit with the non.
Yes.
And of course, the Caring Place is all about grieving children. So I did a lot of work with the schools, going into the schools, doing assemblies, talking about whenever a friend of yours loses somebody, don't alienate them. Whenever they come back, don't treat them any differently. Try to treat them the same. And I really, really, really loved that work. That was very good work to be involved with. Great mission, and of course, still down on the Bayfront.
Sure.
Still keep in touch with the folks I used to work with, and then realized at that time that I did not have management on my resume, and was getting older.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm happy here, and I would have, I think, stayed there, but I had the opportunity to apply to a classified ad. That's old school. That was anonymously listed as nonprofit leadership. It didn't even say the agency that I was applying for, and I was hired through Decision Associates.
Okay,
and
yes.
I think I did 2 interviews before they actually told me who it was. And then, lo and behold, Paul Carpenetto, who was our executive director for 26 plus years, took a chance on me again.
Wow.
And I was able to supervise 2 people, which was...
in development, right?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah. And I came in as the director of development, and quickly learned about the major gifts fundraising approach, and I am a student of Ted Wood, who is very close with the nonprofit partnership.
No, we love Ted.
Yeah,
yes,
and thank you to EHCA for investing in Ted's services, and Ted is my official fundraising mentor. Having Jessica come along.
So you came in as the guy that was going to do the big build out thing.
Yeah.
That was your initial project.
Yeah, and at the Caring Place, we did some fundraising. So I had that on the resume, but we're talking about going into schools and jeans days for the teachers that they're given $1 to wear jeans on Fridays. We're doing like $200 big check, presentations. And so whenever Paul took a chance on me, they knew I lacked the big gift fundraising chops.
Yeah.
So it was, we're going to bring you in, but you're going to get a buddy, and his name's Ted Wood. So I was there for probably about 4 months before.
Let's let the listeners understand how big of a lift this was, because what you were doing is almost fundamentally changing the footprint of EHCA by adding these group homes
Yes.
that were, I kind of was following that project with you. So how large was the overall project on a dollar amount?
So the group homes, the community homes that we build are not Taj Mahals by any means, but they are very state of the art. They are very modern, and because of our niche, who we care for, they cater to medically complex individuals.
Sure.
Okay. So at the time, the Deputy Secretary of ODP, Nancy Thaler, had given us special dispensation to build 4 6-bed community homes. And the reason the Commonwealth didn't want that many is they never want to go back to the institution.
Right.
So they are seeing it as, less is more and more integration as far as people with disabilities is concerned in our neighborhoods. So we set out and we told the donors we're going to build 4 6-bed homes. And we're doing this because we're going to take the residents at the time still lived in the main facility that I referenced earlier.
Right.
And they were our most medically complex people. And that's why they lived so close to us. So you're talking about people on ventilators, trachs. So not only do they have the intellectual disability, they have overriding medical concerns on top of this.
Absolutely.
And whenever we did tours, we cautioned people, that this is some of the most disabled people you're going to see.
But the goal here was to be able to move them from the main facility into group homes.
Yep, and integrate them in the community.
And you were able to do that.
We were.
Did you build all 4?
We got about 3.5 right now because of COVID, which you mentioned earlier.
I remember that, yeah.
So we have a great partner in Lake City Homes in Lake City, Pennsylvania. And any of our stick homes that we have built, they have done them all except for one. So we started that relationship with them in the early 90s where they built the first 2 in Titusville. Right. And we quickly found out that, number one, they build inside, so they can build during this. And they're able to take all the specs and they're able to run all of the hospital type of stuff into the studs, into the house while it's getting built, as opposed to retrofitting it.
Yes.
So we have a lot of medical gases, a lot of suctioning, a lot of tech in the houses.
Sure.
And what we do is we kind of shield all that from view. So you might be able to move a picture or something like that, and then that's there. All the residents have hospital beds, but we never keep the bars up during the day. They're always kind of shielded from public view.
So ballpark project costs, what are you thinking?
So the new one is 1.4.
For one of them?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, that's what they cost.
And the entire project was fully funded through the capital campaign.
Unreal.
So we were very, very fortunate for people's generosity. We, again, utilized all of Ted's recommendations and approaches, even though it did rub some folks initially the wrong way, because we asked people to question their definition of generosity.
Right.
And we made stretch gift asks, which a lot of people aren't used to being asked for.
I feel like we're getting better at that as a community, though, for the stretch gift.
I agree.
We're getting the story of Erie Homes for children and adults. What are we talking about? 100 and
almost
113 years now. Jonathan Rilling and Jessica Kruger. Jessica, let's get you on mic here.
Sure.
Now, again, you're following in Jonathan's footsteps in development.
Which is only mildly intimidating, let me tell you.
She's doing a great job.
But, I mean, this is a generous community here.
Yes.
If people understand and are able to be impassioned by the mission. And so when you're communicating the mission, I'd love to hear your perspective on the mission of EHCA in the modern era now. We're almost into the middle third of the 21st century, if you can believe it or not. We're 8 years away from that, right? So everything's changing. But talk about that, yeah.
Sure. One of the big things for me since I started in September has been to work to communicate the things that have impacted me. So when I came in, this was a whole new world for me. I had spent the last 17 years in social services, which has a lot of similar elements. You're providing services to people who are in need and cannot do that for themselves. And So I had to learn a whole new mission, whole new programming and everything. So the items that have really impacted me along the way and have kind of grabbed my heart and grabbed my mind are the things that I've been working to communicate. And I think when it comes to in the modern world, it kind of reflects back to some of what Jonathan was saying as far as how, the state's working to move away from the, I hate to use the phrase warehouse mindset.
Right,
but
yeah.
The community homes, I think, kind of revolutionized that in a modern sense, in that they are true homes. I've had the privilege of touring several so far, and I've been working my way around to all of them that we have. And it never stops blowing my mind that they're so homey. And that sounds really, it sounds obvious, but they really are. I mean, you don't walk in and feel like you're in a hospital setting or a home. And trying to really show people that to the extent that we can, while of course, retaining privacy for our people who are living. I mean, these are their homes, and showing how homey they are, showing how the staff treat our individuals, our residents in these homes like family. They're not doing a job. They're in there and they're caring for a loved one. And again, that sounds cheesy, but to see it in action, it's true. They know everything about them. I mean, one little flutter of an eyelid and the person working with them knows exactly what that person wants, how they're feeling, if they're happy, if they're sad.
That's remarkable.
This is what this hand grab meant. That's what that grunt meant. Oh my gosh, don't turn off the Wiggles. He will lose his mind. He loves the Wiggles. And that's a true story from one of our individuals. And, this is the food that they like. This is... this person might not be able to verbally express themselves, but we know that, she loves pink and purple, and that's why her bedroom is decorated like this. They're the most homey environments. And between that and the relationships that our staff have with our individuals, those are the things that I've really tried to hone in on showing, because those are the things that have impacted me the most as the outsider coming in brand new to this mission. And I think in the modern era, I feel like those are the pieces that grab at people, the realism, the stories, the actual humanity aspect. So there's a real service being provided here. There's a real medical need that's being met. There's a real intellectual need that's being, there's a real needs that are being met. But with that
people
mission,
need to understand that
Yeah.
Even though it's a fee-for-service type of organization, there are those extra costs and the capital costs.
Oh, of course.
That need to be.
Yeah, I mean, any nonprofit,
generated,
you have your costs that are met through a gazillion means, but there's always a need to fundraise, and to do that, you need people to know what they're fundraising. You need people to know what they're giving for, and they might know in broad strokes. You know, you do good work for people in need, but to show them here is an actual person who is benefiting. Here's what their life looks like.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America, and you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
We're learning about incredible and important social services and medical services provided by Erie Homes for Children and Adults. Jonathan Rilling is the new chief executive officer. When did you finally take the title on there, Jonathan?
So it was the first of the year.
Okay, so we got you in the first month. Amazing.
Yep.
Jessica Kruger is the director of development here. I want to get to talking about careers, because I feel like a major theme of our show here is always talking about workforce, and we always want to get to that. But let's talk about where you guys are at. I mean, during this transition from your former CEO to now, where does that put the kind of what are some of the statistics of the organization at this time as you take over? Like how many workers, how many patients or clients and so on.
Yeah, thank you. So a lot of people don't realize that we're in the top 30 employers in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Which we're very proud of.
Yes.
So we have just below 600 employees and we care for just around 500 people a day. So
is there some outpatient too, or
it's just really being a lean, mean fighting machine. I mean, we are very, I think, fiscally responsible at the top compared to other nonprofits, other companies. So, Jessica and I are part of what we call the administrative council team, and there's 8 of us, including us too. And then that group bleeds into the leadership team, which is about 20. And those 20 people that include the AC team oversee the rest of the employees in some way or another. So we feel that we're very fiscally responsible.
Sure, yeah.
We do have current waiting lists for all of our programs, as we were discussing on break. But the state itself also has a waiting list of over 13,000 people, which Governor Shapiro is looking to do away with. He's trying to end the waiting list. That's a big initiative whenever we go to Harrisburg. And that could be anybody waiting for any type of disability services. And it is skewed or I should say it is sorted as kind of like a organ donation list of emergency cases that need met on top.
I think you need to make it clear, because people might have their arms around this. But this, what did you call it? Medically complex.
Yep.
You're one of 5?
One of 5 in the state that handles the type of cases that we do. So you can call it medically complex, medically fragile, but it is people with overwhelming medical concerns on top of the intellectual disability diagnosis.
And so, and so the goal here is quality of life, but also taking care of the maladies, the actual physiological issues that are happening, whether like you said, suction and air and all that thing.
We differ from a hospital. Any service provider does. Any disability services provider does, because the people we care for are not going to get better, and we know that. And I think the role of the hospital is to get you better, to get you
therapeutic as opposed to chronic.
Correct. And so what we aim to do is present to our folks what is called an everyday life, and that's to give them opportunities, choices, to make the choices that so many of us take for granted on a daily basis. We have an event every summer called the Victory Ride, and it was started because our people achieve victories every day. So their victories look very different than our victories, but it's a victory nonetheless to them, and it means a lot to themselves and the staff. And to Jessica's point, it's a heartwarming thing to see.
Wow.
Everybody that works for us may say it differently, but we're all there for the mission at the end of the day, which is a great thing to be a part of.
That is remarkable. To have this team for these patients is amazing. Talk about where how people kind of enter in, and you said that the emergent issues come first, right?
Mm-hmm. And in a lot of ways, we get our referrals through Erie County Care Management, ECCM, and they kind of feed all of the disability services in town, and they know what everybody's specialty is. So based off the cases they get, they don't necessarily make a recommendation, but they'll say, have you heard of EHCA, that type of thing to the parents. Then the parent, through the service coordinator, contacts our admission person, Janess, and that's really what kind of cracks the door. We have a wonderful, creative, dedicated team. So we pride ourselves on not telling anybody no.
Wow.
So if we don't do what you need right now, we will damn find a way to do it.
Wow.
And that's kind of been our special sauce and kind of our differentiator through the years.
Can you talk about the age range? Because again, it started out as the Erie Infants Home. Are we still taking in infants?
So we pride ourselves on really providing a full spectrum, a full continuum of health care.
Okay.
So we have a program named Project First Step, which is actually aimed at disability prevention in the first place. So even with all of the technology and the medical know-how that we have now, medicine still doesn't actually know what causes disabilities from occurring.
Okay.
We know that there are behaviors that expectant moms can engage in that is going to increase their chances of giving birth to a child with disabilities.
Kind of like a fetal alcohol syndrome or something like that.
All that. Abuse, maybe they have intellectual disabilities themselves. Maybe there's genetics there. So our people go, our Project First Step crew goes hand in hand with them to make sure that they're going to their well baby visits and all that so that they have the best chance of giving birth to a child.
You would have
healthy,
never
happy
thought
baby.
that was a role that you guys had.
Yep. So we have that all the way through our programs. So we have residential, we have community, and we have something called life sharing, which is Chuck Walzak, my predecessor, always said the first step to sainthood. That is where my family would adopt a child with challenges and have them be our own. And then the state gives those families a stipend. We have staff that come in to support those families that elect to do that.
Wow.
To make sure that they're successful, that the house is ADA compliant and safe, things of that nature. And then even into our MOVE program, which is out on the west side by Wegmans West, we now have the older adult license. So as our people age, we like to think we're taking good care of them, so they're not infants anymore. They may have joined us that way, but they're living longer. All of us are, knock on wood.
Yes.
Because of medical advances.
Interestingly, though, sorry to interject there, the older adult license, though, at the MOVE program begins at age 55. So when he says older adult, it's not even like they have to have a license to care for like an elderly person, quote unquote. This is somebody who had their 55th birthday and the very next day would not be able to attend this community program that they've loved.
Wow.
So they got dual licensed for that. So the age range for all the programs truly does span from, in the womb through Project First Step up to our oldest residents who are in their upper 80s. So we have the whole gamut, the whole range of ages and differences. And
I kind of see these threads in all these social services kind of coming back and forth. Mm-hmm. It makes me wonder, is there a touch from the foster care system to what you guys do?
Sure.
There is.
Yeah.
How does that work, John?
So Project First Step works closely with OCY. OCY is a great partner of ours. And we'll take referrals for Project First Step through OCY. They are one of the funders of the program, the main funder of the program. To really, again, just improve chances is what we're trying to do. Is really arm people with the best tools they can to have healthy pregnancy outcomes, also live a healthier life. And be good parents for these children that they're having.
But if a child is born in medically complex situation, that's where you step in on that. I mean, are we talking? I again, just not everybody is living at EHCA.
Sure.
Right. So
correct.
So if you, let's say you have cleft palate or something like, is that somebody that you would work with?
Not necessarily. But
okay.
Yeah, that might be one of the things. Yep.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of the things that kids come up with, you know, or a CF or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, our community programs work with the families for whatever they need. I mean, we take some of the participants for 2 hours if that's what the family needs.
Okay.
So, we want to work with the family to create the best quality of life for the individual with disabilities that's in their orbit.
It is remarkable that you're able to do this whole ecosystem of medically complex.
Yep.
Because it could be identified a lot of different ways, right?
Yes.
I mean, and paying for it. I mean, again, do the reimbursements cover, or do you have? I mean, you do some fundraising. That's why Jessica's here, right?
Correct. Yep.
Tell us a little bit about some of your fundraising activities, or what you got coming up in 2025.
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Of course. This is always the money question, right?
So in May, we have our largest fundraiser, which is our Golden Gatsby Gala.
Oh, cool.
So that is
Heard of this, yes.
Naturally, it's a it's a Great Gatsby themed sort of event, golden era, roaring 20s. So that is our largest fundraiser.
And that's where Jonathan wears the spats, right? I mean,
Yes,
not
I do,
untrue, yes.
Not untrue.
That is an all-out costume situation for
Yes.
sure. That is at the Ambassador again this year. It is Mother's Day weekend, May 10th. We're going to have details about that on our Facebook and website soon. And we are looking for sponsorships. This event has raised over $80,000. So, again, not intimidating at all, right?
Yeah.
So we're really excited about that. That's our major fundraiser. And then Jonathan touched on our Victory Ride, which is a motorcycle ride It's really, really amazing to see our individuals, including our medically complex ones that may have some of the equipment that Jonathan mentioned. They go inside cars and go out for a motorcycle ride. And it's really one of the most moving events you could ever see. Some of them immediately know what's going on and they're so thrilled to be there and they just can't wait to get going. This is like their favorite thing and the staff know it and they know that they want to do it every year. Others, you can tell that they're not entirely sure what they're here for, but they're in the car, they're waiting patiently, they're kind of taking in the sights. And then when you watch those bikes roll back in, the expressions on their face, like just wide-eyed, giant smiles, laughing. There's nothing like it. So that, as he said, was kind of founded as a celebration of their everyday victories. So it's the Victory Ride, and that is in August. So we'll have information out there about that as well.
Very cool. Very cool. I want you to talk about careers because I feel like there are lots of ways that people that would be either have the skill set or have the heart to do this work, but it might be that they're an accountant, or something like that, back office kind of thing. Talk about that.
Yeah, so, not unsimilar to a lot of different groups out there right now, because of the medical complexity, we do have a dedicated medical director who works with us and has worked with us for over 20 years, but we are always looking for nurses. We're always looking for these medically complex homes. Our staff.
Would they generally be bachelors, BSNs?
So we try for the LPN RN.
Okay.
But really, we advertise it in our recruiting efforts as a different kind of nursing because that's really what it is. So there is a curriculum to learn some of the things that Jessica was talking about, which people don't always communicate the same way. So let's talk about how they might communicate. And the nurses that we've gotten tend to stay for a very long time.
Wow.
But people retire, people move on for different reasons. So we usually target nursing, and that's where you see our billboards around town. And I love that nomenclature of it being a different type of nursing because that's very true to the ones that we talk about. The direct support professional, the DSP, is 80% of our workforce.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're the hands that carry out our mission. We do all of our own training. We are at the point where I'm knocking on wood saying this, that we feel we've recovered from COVID as far as staffing goes. However, we're never going to be fully staffed with DSPs. Right. I've been there 13 years. We've never not needed staff. So we're always looking for DSPs. If you're listening, if you're interested, give us a shot. I speak to all the onboarding classes bi-weekly, and I always say if EHCA likes you and you like EHCA, you can stay at EHCA a very long time.
Wow.
For example, we have a staff that was hired the day before I was born who still works there.
Wow.
So our tenure is second to none. So we have almost 175
that
employees.
has a lot to say about your culture.
Sure. And again, Jessica touched on it. It's you become a part of these folks' families and you're really ingrained with watching this individual succeed, the great things that they do.
I would imagine that our declining population is a challenge for organizations, not just your organization, but organizations altogether like yours, because there's no AI or robot that's going to do what you guys do.
Correct.
Nor would we want that.
You're correct.
You need that human touch in this work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very well said. And I mean, if, as I said, I'm 49 and, it's becoming clear to me that if I'm lucky enough to make it to a nursing home someday, is R2D2 going to be delivering my meds? Is that what the future looks like? And again, as you kind of alluded to, that would not be true to our mission. So that's we don't want to see it go there.
Right.
But we also have to be real with the things that you're talking
Sure.
about.
Yeah. Well, again, I could see AI enhancing medical outcomes or, just, better ways to respond,
Sure.
And also, helping you write a grant proposal, right? I mean, seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be helpful. But the actual, hey, I'm interpreting what this person is saying to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Jonathan said too, if you're listening and you're thinking, your mission sounds great, but I just don't have that. The training is unreal. They give you every tool that you could possibly need. It's all handed to you. All you have to do is take it and implement it. So
correct.
I would definitely encourage anybody. All of our careers are always listed on our website. And when he says too about how, you can stay at EHCA forever, I can't even tell you in a few short months how many staff I've come across in all different positions across the agency that started as DSPs. Some have been DSPs for decades because they enjoy the work, but the opportunity is there if you say, you know what, I want to explore this career path. I want to explore this department. The culture of fostering that career path is there for anybody who could ever want it. So. For sure. And that's very unlike other avenues, I think, where it's, you have to stay in this place, or your management might, sort of not recommend you for that because they want to. I mean, I've heard some horror stories from other, parts, and EHCA isn't like that. They encourage you to explore what's going to make your path better there.
Well said.
Do you feel that Erie is just one of those special places? I feel like we are rich with these kinds of organizations, with being able to be best practice in human services. I feel there's there's something special about Erie.
For sure.
And
I mean, you mentioned in before we went on the air, I mean, Erie Gives Day is a perfect example through the Erie Community Foundation nonprofit partnership. It's, we always say it's a small pool. Well, look at what the small pool can do when everybody swims together. And Erie Gives Day, that number keeps on going up exponentially every year in the participation.
Even when you think, there's no way we could beat that number, and we beat it.
We
it's
do.
Incredible.
And the other cities, the larger cities that we modeled this after, they lost their momentum years ago, and we're still trucking. It's amazing.
Well, it is remarkable. I think it has to do with these beautiful, I really say it, these beautiful organizations that were handed down by our ancestors,
Yes.
You talk about your mothers, who wanted to do something with their wealth.
Yes.
And here they are helping infants and now helping individuals through their entirety of life. It's really, really special. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yes.
And congratulations on the post.
Appreciate it.
You got it. Jonathan Rilling, Jessica Kruger here.
Thank you.
From the Erie Homes for Children and Adults.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.